All right. Go for it.
Okay. Where last we left off, you guys had defeated the construct known as a Nimblewright that was hiding within an alleyway within a barrel. After defeating the Nimblewright, you found on its person a map that was supposedly that would supposedly lead you to the location of the Stone of Galore, this mystical artifact that is said to aid in finding this cache of treasure that the former Open Lord of Waterdeep, Lord Daggold Neverember, had embezzled from the citizens of the city. You followed the map to a location whereupon you found a house at the location of the map that had been opened. There was bloodstains kind of marked everywhere, most notable of which in the kitchen of this wrecked house was a blood-stained drawn symbol of the Xanathar Guild. Upon exiting, you were greeted by the current Open Lord of Waterdeep, Lady Lario Silverhand, who told you that the Xanathar Guild must have gotten to this individual first, by the name of Fenris Stormcastle, who was also mentioned on the map. And she shared with you the location of a hidden Xanathar Guild hideout and beckoned you to make your way there if you wanted to find the stone. She also encouraged you to aid in returning the gold to the city of Waterdeep and the citizens from whom it was embezzled, and said if you were to recover the stone and aid in this pursuit, to find her man, to find a contact of hers located at a theater within the castle ward named the Seven Masks Theater. The name of the individual you would to contact would be Ronquan Mystere. You wandered into the Xanathar Guild hideout. You dispatched of the defenders there. You recovered for yourself a blue stone, which you believe to be the Stone of Galore, and you found a mechanic down there who's working on a mechanical beholder. You could not figure out how to get the mechanical beholder to fly, though you did figure out how to work the lights on it. And while you were working the lights on it, through a clever use of the Mold Earth cantrip, you spent 3.5 hours rolling it halfway across the city, with everyone in the city wanting you to do this, blocking up the streets, so that you could roll this thing all the way back to your manor in Troll Skull Alley, where you have returned. What would you like to do?
It's a good question.
It is a good question.
So-
What time of day is it?
It's probably early in the evening.
Okay.
Does anyone know how this stone leads someone to the treasure?
New.
Not really. I mean, I thought maybe if you held it to the map, it would light something up, but
I
you
think we
tried that
tried.
last time and that
Yeah,
didn't
we
work.
tried it. Right.
Yeah. That was my only idea.
Well, we might as well sell it then.
Would selling it be a good thing? Or maybe perhaps a little more investigation?
I
Well,
mean,
good
I
for
guess we
us.
could take the stone, kind of did what we did with the weird wand that detected the mechanical dudes, and kind of just see if wander some streets and see if it reacts, lights up, vibrates, or does something.
I mean, we could try and figure out if there's any information on it.
Or would you like to go find information on it, this being late in the evening?
I'll
Yeah, we
remind
should.
you that Lariel Silverhand encouraged that if you found the stone in this location, to find her man at the Seven Masks Theater. Though that's up to you to decide what you want to do.
Was that the girl that said she wanted to take half the treasure?
Nope, this is the one who wanted to return the treasure to the citizens of Waterdeep from whom they were embezzled. Lady Lariel Silverhand, the current Open Lord of Waterdeep,
Yeah,
and
That's
daughter
right.
of Mistra.
Yeah, Julie said that we would get the stone for her, but in return, Julie wanted half of the treasure.
That's right. That's what I remember.
Right.
Because I'm with Julie on this one. I'd like to get some of this. So, as much as I want it to return to the people of Waterdeep, I still would like a cut for putting in this much effort. should we at least try to discuss it with her?
So do you want to go to the theater and find our contact?
I'm thinking at least discuss it, and if things don't turn out well, then we leave. But if we can at least get a cut of this, I would appreciate it.
Let's go maybe find the contact, but don't tell him we have the stone.
I like it.
We can always go see what happens.
Onward then.
Okay. What would you like to do?
I think we're going to go to the theater.
Okay.
I hope
Before
something
you
good
do
is
that-
doing.
Sure. So before you do that, while you're walking outside, Julie, a flying snake kind of comes off of the ramparts of the alleyway. You can see it's got a message attached to it, and it kind of flies down next to you.
Yeah, this isn't Julie's first flying snake. He'll take the message.
Okay. As you unfold the message, it reads, I would like to know more about what happened at Gralhund Villa. If you can spare the time, meet me out at Algarian Statue in the City of the Dead at noon tomorrow. You will be paid generously for your time and trouble. The letter is signed by an Istrid Horn. And you would know Algarian Statue as one of the big statues within the city of Waterdeep that it is said can be animated in significant times of strife or trouble in order to defend the city. It is the statue in particular of a bearded, robed wizard that is standing on concrete steps, and it is facing west towards the skyline of Waterdeep.
What was the Istrin something?
Istrid Horn. That's how it's spelled.
Okay. Let's go to the. Well, I mean, should we spend the night at the tavern and then head out in the morning?
I guess. Are you letting us know what this note says? Then I take it.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
because I say it was
I
just
have no
addressed to
problem.
you, so. I suppose this could be another contact we could try to share information about the gemstone with, if this is what this is probably about.
Yeah, news travels fast, I think, in this town.
It's worth a shot, I suppose.
You know, we could do both. I mean, we can go to the theater and Julie can visit this person at the statue.
Well, let me ask this: who do you think has more eyes and ears in the city? Because we don't want the other one to know we're talking to the other.
I will chime in. I said I think the city's full of ears. I don't think one has more than the other. Seems like everyone seems to know about our business even before we do.
Well, he did just say about what happened at Grunhund Villa, so maybe he doesn't know we have the stone yet.
Right. I mean, anyone could have seen us come and go from there, but it's the details that people don't have.
I say maybe we approach him tomorrow before you go to the theater.
Okay, we can do that.
Real fast. You're also forgetting the doppelganger issue for the Harpers, which would
Yeah,
be.
Julie really doesn't care that much about the doppelganger issue.
No, I will go myself.
I don't think he made that. Was Julie part of that agreement?
You
Was he
said
there when
yes.
you made that?
You said
I
yes
did.
to it after you learned that it offered 50 gold for every participating individual.
Wait, doppelganger.
Oh, all right. Well, okay.
Jog my memory.
You don't have to go. You can go visit the statue. I'll go to the way call it. We don't all have to be in the same spot at the same time.
The message also reads to meet this individual, Istrid Horn, at noon, I should say,
Oh,
tomorrow.
noon. I thought it was midnight. Sorry.
So the doppelganger thing was supposed to be tonight.
well, let's do the doppelganger thing, and then tomorrow we can visit the dude at the statue and the theater. We can do it
For
all.
sure. Let's get it done.
All right, so doppelganger. I don't recall off the top of my head what the contract was.
Meet
Basically,
at Yawning Portal and talk to the guy the other guy brings. I can't remember the
basically, there is a group of doppelgangers that are looking to join the Harpers. You guys are supposed to serve as a third opinion as to whether or not they're trustworthy. So, let me set the scene a little bit here. You arrive somewhat early within the evening at the Yawning Portal. There's a couple of individuals who are in the middle of finishing out their dinners and everything. As you walk in, Julie, Yagra will try to flag you down.
Okay, he'll stop and talk to her.
She'll lean in close to you and she says, I take it the guard haven't gotten up your ass yet.
About what?
The villa. You were involved there, so the rumor goes.
Julie just kind of shrugs. Non-committal.
She says, whatever it is. After
Why would guard want to bother me?
she says, after the guard learned that Erstal Floxen, one of the Zents, was involved, they've been on the hunt for anybody suspected to be involved with the Zents. They have Davil in lockdown.
Oh, that's I'm sorry to hear that.
You should be. He was close to locating. I can't remember your rival's name.
Yes. Lot of good that information would have done me in a jail cell after I was arrested for the murder of someone that I actually this time didn't kill.
She pulls out a satchel and passes it in your direction.
Julie will look inside. What is it?
Inside, you see a fetish. Well, it looks like some sort of totem. It is a small wooden satchel that has been covered with a couple of bones, as well as what looks to be some bits of fur and skin. You think probably bear skin. Upon seeing it, you recognize this as a good luck trinket that Throdrock had on his person that he stole from a particularly strong raid.
Is this the thing?
No.
This isn't the
You recognize
Throdrock thing.
that this isn't the trinket in question, but this is a trinket.
Okay. Julie says, looks familiar. Where'd you find it?
We found it in the hills outside of town, believe it or not. We think he may be hiding here somewhere in the city, possibly in Skullport.
I take it that's one of the districts, Skullport.
Do you ask her?
Well, she said in the city in Skullport.
Sh-
So Julie's just going to assume that.
Okay.
I mean, to Julie, the city is just so huge. I mean, it's endless districts, whatever. Okay, another district. But he's here. That's good. Julie goes, good. He saved me the trouble of finding him.
Skullport's a big place, and the Undermountain is large.
What are you getting at, Yagra? Julie says.
She says, you don't know where Skullport is, do you?
No, but don't think it'd be very hard to find out.
She shakes her head and says, Skullport is a thieves' den, a huge city, and the base of the Xanathar Guild, hidden within one of the levels near Undermountain. The city within a city.
Julie just kind of nods and says, "This is a lot of free information, Yagra. What is it you're expecting in return?"
She says, Nothing yet. A favor for a friend, yeah?
That's a funny word, he says to her, friend. He goes, I'm beginning to understand it has many and varied meanings in a city.
What are you playing at?
Out there was very simple. All I'm saying is that I'm finding it difficult learning the difficult lesson that I can't trust many people around here. Davil sent me to that manor and set me up to be arrested for a murder I didn't commit. Me and my friends. Why would I trust anything you tell me now?
She says, Davil never sent you there. You told us where you were going. We simply encouraged it.
Encouraged it. And then your people killed the people there and made it look like we did it.
She says, not our people.
I may not be a smart man, but I know what love is. No, sorry. Julie says, what's your favor?
She says, I have no favor to ask of you yet.
He shrugs and says, let me know.
She says, well, thought you should know. Whether you want to do anything about it or not, that's up to you then. I'll be here.
Just to clarify, she hasn't asked me to do anything. I mean, she told me Davo was on lockdown. Did she expect me to break him out? She didn't ask me to do that.
No, she didn't ask you to do anything of the sort. She just informed you that Davo was on lockdown.
Oh, she just informed me and then said what I do with that information is up to me, basically.
So you can be a good guy or you can be a bad guy.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that's my problem right now. Julie will nod thoughtfully at her and just say, I have business now, and then again in the morning. Because after that, I'll see about it. Thanks for the fetish. He'll put it in his pouch and go back to join his friends.
Okay. Is there anything you guys would like to do while you're waiting for this meeting with the doppelgangers to go on?
I have nothing spectacular to look forward to in here, I suppose.
Okay.
I'm sitting at the bar. I'll ask Durnan if there's a library nearby that stays open late.
He says, you could probably access the Grand Library near the castle.
That's it. Okay. Thanks. And I'll jot that down for future reference.
While we're sitting here, is Volo here?
Yep. He's in the middle of, looks like writing a book.
Well, since he's so knowledgeable, I'd like to approach him and ask him what he knows about the Stone of Galore.
Let's see. He says, I've heard of this stone. I have not seen it myself, of course. It's a very dangerous thing to have in one's possession, certainly to show it in such a spacious place as this, with many eyes and ears. Many groups trying to get a hold of such a stone, my friend.
Killy, I'm not showing him the stone. I'm asking
I
him what
know.
he knows
He's
about.
he's he just saying that.
Okay.
He's saying that just in case, because he knows that everybody is looking for it, and he's scared that of you being stupid enough to pull it out in a place like this.
Okay. um. What? What do you know about its? Does anybody have a good idea of a description of what it looks like, or how? What specifically it does?
He says, "Well, the funny thing about that stone is, whoever has it in its possession, as soon as they lose it, they forget just about everything about it. They know that it is a blue stone with some odd curves, and that's about a bit."
Should throw it down the well and leave. Julie doesn't say that though. I'm just saying.
Mhm.
Um. All right. Um. With that little bit of knowledge, I'm going to go back to the bar, I guess.
Okay. Anything else? All right. So you wait late into the evening as the passengers begin to kind of disperse. You are, after a while, directed by Durnan, along with Mert and Matron Merrig, also known as Three Strings the Bard, into a back room. I'm actually going to put you over by this table here, I think. Let's put you down here. Okay. Durnan will sit over here. Three Strings and Mert will sit over here. As you're kind of directed into this back room, you wait a little bit and you watch as a couple of individuals begin to walk through one by one. The first individual to walk in is a aging male tiefling in a black suit with very thin rimmed spectacles. You then see, walking in after him, I'm just drawing a couple folks in to represent them, is a beautiful looking noblewoman who greets you courteously as she enters in. Third, you see a male human bard who is mostly clean. Fourth, you see one of the halfling bartenders, or we see a halfling bartender, not of this particular establishment, who enters in. And finally, entering in, you see Bonnie, the matron, the barmaid of this particular establishment, as they wander in. Three Strings, Matron Merrig, will say, "Each of you has been considered for membership within the Hoppers. As you may very well know, the Hoppers is a group dedicated to protecting the little guy." Pull my notes here. There we go. It says, "Those of us within the Hoppers try to work behind the scenes in order to keep power out of the hands of evil tyrants. As you know, the city is well under the hands of more than a few evil thieves' guilds who are working to take power and wealth for themselves. Though, with the unique abilities that you may possess, membership within the Hoppers can offer some benefits, and should you prove trustworthy, you might make suitable candidates. To this end, we have offered an outsider's perspective. and he gestures to the lot of you, and he says, "To my immediate left is an individual by the name of Willerfoot Crowell," and he gestures to this tiefling who adjusts his thin-rimmed glasses and does a small courteous bow. Next to him is Miss Nanathair Lalistar, who says, "A pleasure to meet all of you," and she kind of does a small curtsy. Next to her, you may very well know Bonnie, and she kind of fidgets and says, "Hello, everyone. Uh, yes, yes, I'm a doppelganger." Next to Bonnie here is Mr. Cecil Weiss. "A pleasure to meet you." And finally, Vaniel Shortwick. "Greetings."
Hmm.
What questions would you like to ask these individuals?
um. Okay. Why is it that you would like to join the Harpers?
Willifert, the tiefling, will say, "Well, I work for a noble family within the city. Unfortunately, I'm under a non-disclosure agreement to release more, but connection to the Harpers could prove a huge benefit to the family I work for." Next to him, Nanathir will say, "I've done what I can to live a clean, honest life. Um, and hoping that this will help aid in my connections." Bonnie will say, "But, well, Durden suggested I try to reach out and make some friends, and seemed like a good opportunity. Get my bearings, know a bit more, get to know the right people." Cecil will say, "Oh, I only have a desire to make it big in this wonderful city, become a legendary musician, actor, and playwright. The Harpers, well, they offer protection. What else can I say?" And finally, Vaniel will say, "Well, all I do is mix drinks at an inn called the Hole in the Wall, a cozy little place. Um, the protection that the Harpers offer is also quite useful."
Um.
Durnan will say, "If you want to question them individually, we can set it up that way.
I,
I know some of them myself."
which ones do you know? Obviously, Bonnie. Hello.
Wow, what is that?
What?
Were you talking?
There was a lot of static.
Check, check, 1, 2.
Yeah, we hear you now. Can you hear us?
No, it was just a
Yeah.
static burst. I don't know what that was.
I don't know what that was either. I assume I'm okay now.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay.
Good.
Durnan will say that he'll tell you a bit more in private if you want. His personal opinions.
Well, I don't want your personal opinions. I just would like to know how many of these individuals you know. I know you know Bonnie. Is
He
or
says,
go ahead.
"I know Bonnie. I know in passing some of these individuals. I can give you my personal suspicions, but that's just me."
um, I'm going to ask a question to Mert. Mert. Uh,
Yep.
just to be clear, you're asking for an outsider's opinion on the people in front of us. Do you need individual opinions on each one, or do you need as a lot?
He says, "Individual opinions might be best if you want to question each one individually."
Hmm.
do you just want to pull them into the room one at a time from like right to left? I think that'll be done a lot quicker.
Probably.
Plus, some people are more open to sharing things they normally wouldn't in a group setting, so, you know.
Yeah. That makes sense. Um, it, one last question to Mert would be, so if if one of these characters we don't think is a trustworthy addition to your ranks, the others would have maybe a chance to join regardless.
We judge an individual's worth based on their own personal abilities and truthfulness, not based on a group.
Okay, well, that's fair. Before we walk into the other room, I'm going to ask them, are you the only doppelgangers in town?
Mert will say, "This is the group looking to join. Whether there's any more, we don't know. Wrong accent.
Well, Mert, I truly understand that, but at the same time, we would, like to know if there's a larger group and these five are a part of that group, and possibly if they have any other not ulterior motives, but they have any other different motives.
Bonnie will step up and say, "This is folks of a group of individuals who I personally have met with. I believe everyone here is trustworthy. If my personal opinion means anything."
Okay, all right, then we would like to, I guess, speak with each of you individually.
Julie says, "I don't understand," and he looks at the guy who's giving us this job, and he says, "You say you value ability and truth, and yet you consider adding people to your clan who pretend to be other people and kill them in order to take their place without anyone knowing."
With which at this, the five people in
See,
front kind of wince a little bit.
just saying.
Mert says, "Hence why we're a little hesitant about this, and trying to apply some tact."
What's that?
Something your companions have in spades, I think.
Oh.
Now,
Well, have at it, Julie says to his party mates and drinks his beer.
how would you like to approach this?
Start right to left is what I'm thinking.
Yeah, right to left is best.
Okay. In the interest of time, I'm going to say the other four are kind of escorted out of the room, watched over by Matron Merrick, and you are left alone in here with Durnan, Mert, the rest of yourselves, and Vandal Shortwick, who is a male halfling, or appears as a male halfling.
And he's a bartender, right?
He's a bartender.
Do you have any other skills other than bartending?
He says, "Well, I is mostly hoping to stick with this for the protection. You see, the Harpers do a great job of protecting those who are in their employ, and well, as you're aware, we doppelgangers can be quite sneaky if the road calls."
How do you go about doing your doppelganger business? Like, what are the skill sets you have that allow you to do such things?
Well, you see, as a doppelganger, um, he looks over in your direction, and you watch as the form of this halfling begins to kind of shift, and the skin becomes sort of this grayish color. It begins to raise in height a little bit, and Kay, you look back at the form of yourself, kind of looking back at you, hood and all, and it just shrugs and looks back at you.
Not gonna lie, that's kind of terrifying.
It's just back into the halfling sort of bartender form and says, "Yes, well, that's why we have to be careful."
Oop, that static's back. And it's from you, Killy. Killy, I think it's your microphone.
Yeah, I would 100% say it's his mic.
It's still your microphone, Killy. Try reconnecting your headset.
I like the little beeps at the end.
It's like Morse code. Help me!
Try that now.
Oh, okay, I can hear you. That was really weird. It's just like straight every time you try to talk, it's just constant static, and then the moment you stop talking, it goes away, and then it comes back.
Not
Every
all the
time I
time.
shifted, I guess. All right, I changed the server. I've re-plugged the mic. Hopefully, it sticks that way.
I will look at the guy and try to ascertain what would he contribute back to the harbor. So I'll ask in a very indirect way. I said, I understand that you're looking for protection for hoppers, but this has got to be a two-way street. What are you offering the hoppers? What skill set are you willing to provide to the group to make them better?
He says, "Well, as you can see," and he says this in Kay's voice, "well, as you can see, we have a unique capability, able to sneak into places where others might not be able to go into.
Right,
You know,
but
we make excellent spies."
all five of you can do that. What can you do as an individual that's unique, that's different than the other four?
Well, I kind of fidgets a little bit and says, "I can pose as a bartender."
Okay.
Mert will kind of step forward and say, "What we're trying to gauge here more than anything is whether he will be trustworthy in any endeavors we send him forward."
And
Now,
I understand, but you also want us to give an opinion of this guy's of each of character. I can't do that based on a pony trick, and I'll refer to the fact that he can mirror reflect other people.
Mert,
What kind of character is this guy?
Mert will kind of step forward and he'll say, "If I may, Mr. Vaniel, is it? This hostel you'll work for. Tell me about it." "Oh, yes, sir. It mostly caters to halflings. Um, yes, it mostly caters to halflings. There are many of them who kind of exist out in the Eastern Ward, much of whom are having trouble finding work these days. I help to serve them. Would you say they collect almost together, like a gang?" I don't know about that. Well, it's just, hard times and all."
So I will try. So you work as a bartender. What's the most common drink you make at your pub, and how do you make it?
He
All the way,
says,
I'll look at Durnan for accuracy. I know nothing about making the drink here.
he says, well, mostly we just collect ale from the Vinters Guild and sell that on tap."
And how much do you pay your vendor for your cask of ale?
I'm afraid I'm not the one in charge of paying the Vinters Guild for their annual guild services."
Okay.
Durnan will say, "The average cost of the Vinters Guild is," and he'll give you a price because I don't have one
Yeah,
off the top of my
that's
head.
fine. That's fine. I'm trying to see if he's going to change his story at all, or is he truly a bartender?
Oh, I got you.
Anyone else want to throw any questions? I'm kind of
Yeah,
thinking of something else to ask.
yeah, I got one. Kelly, real fast. What do I know about doppelgangers?
Make a history check.
All right. Sure, once I get back to the right window.
Yes, the genitalia does in fact change.
You know that they can shift their form to any person of any race, and they tend to steal the personalities and lives of those that they kill.
Um, your current form. How did you come about it?
He says, "Oh well, a poor halfling man died while within the hostel's care."
Julie makes air quotes and says, "Died."
Killy, listening to that explanation, and I'm trying to be this entire portion of what I'm about to ask him. I'm trying to see if I believe him. So I'm going to ask, um, how did he die?
He says, "I'm afraid he died of his wounds. Was assaulted by a terrible creature.
What terrible creature was that?
I'm afraid I don't know the details. Some terrible creature that lives, I think, in the sewers. May have crawled up from under mountain. I don't know.
Do I believe him at all?
Make an insight check. No. Or at least he's not telling you the whole story.
Well, with a 24, right? I'm just
Hmm.
asking. I get that he's not telling me the whole story, but I guess my question would be, do I think that he killed him?
You think it's a possibility?
This horrible creature that came up from the sewer, did its name happen to be Doppelganger?
What? Oh, no, of course not. It no. I didn't have anything to do with it."
Julie looks over at you and, without actually voicing anything, like mouths the word "died" while making air quotes.
I look at what was your form before you took this one.
He says, I didn't have a form. I lived outside of the city by myself."
So you're able to see a halfling predominant area where a halfling died, and in your native form. Is that what you're explaining to me? If you did not have a form before that?
Yes, of course.
I'm gonna pull up the chair across the way from him and be like, look, I understand people do terrible things, and I'm gonna take the insignia I carry with me of Tyr. I'm gonna set on the table and I go, people make mistakes, but if you want to start a new life, you have to be honest with us.
You hear a whisper in the back of your head say, "This one's been touched by the moon." And he will say, I'm sorry. I want to be honest. Of course, of course. It's difficult, all the violence in the streets. I just want to make sure I can be a part of an organization that can keep me safe. That's all.
Well, hold on. If you live quietly by yourself outside the city, why do you want to live in the city now?
I rather like my job. I found a family, friends.
And does your family, and I'll put that in quotes, know what you are in reality, or do they believe you're a halfling?
He says, how do they believe I'm a halfling? It's very difficult to tell a doppelganger just by looking at it.
Well, I agree, and I will say, honesty should start with the family, and I'll thank him for.
You broke up there at the end.
I said honestly should start with the family, and I'll thank him.
Let me change the server back to US Central since. There we go. Okay. He will kind of fidget as you say that and go quiet.
I'm gonna say I'll look at Mert and I'll say unless this with air quotes to make Julie happy, unless this halfling comes clean to his form's family, I don't think you can trust him. He's masquerading as someone that has died and has not told anyone what he is.
Mert will kind of sigh and say, "Thank you for your consideration. Mr. Vanio, the Hoppers will review your request and propose to you our decision later." And Vanio just kind of looks a little disgruntled, fidgets a little bit with his arms kind of nervously, and he says, if that's all, then I'll take my leave. Thank you, gentlemen.
I'll look at him and go, I wish you the best of luck out there.
Thanks. And he will kind of stumble his way out the door. Next brought in is a boisterous-looking man dressed as a bard, complete with a lute on his back, and he says, "Thank you again for meeting with me, Cecil Weiss, if you've forgotten, at your service."
You should know
Ask you.
I don't like bards to begin with. But let's go.
Everybody's a critic.
Let's
Well,
start with the serious question here. How'd you get your form?
he says, "Believe it or not, the form is that of a would-be musician that passed a couple of years ago. At least one I saw in a book somewhere. I rather liked the look and decided to adopt it for myself."
I will.
You adopt the form from a picture in a book?
"Yes, a very handsome fellow. I can't say what his voice looked like. The voice is entirely my own creation."
I will look at Rotund and kind of give him like the raised eyebrow, like, what do you think about this one telling the truth?
Hang on. Um, to keep a form so long, I was under the impression that you couldn't exactly use a picture from a book. I'm surely you've met such a person in your travels. Uh,
He says, "Oh no, we can take any form we very well please. Any humanoid form at any rate."
hmm.
It's the voice is a little bit tricky to masquerade with. You have to hear the voice in order to be able to replicate it, otherwise come up with something of your own creation, the clever man that I am myself.
How,
Durna will kind of pipe up and say, "Bard, huh? Guess you got a lot of folks who are trying to steal that thunder away from you, Mister Wanna Be a Big Shot." "Well, I do my own. I handle myself well enough, thank you, Mister Durden."
how long have you been in town?
"Oh, about 2.5 years."
2.5 years. 2.5 years as a bard.
Why? If
At
you've been here
least,
2.5 years, why do you want to join the guild now?
he says, "The guild is famous for its bards. They become world renowned."
Wait. 2.5 years as a bard. You've been doppelganging as a bard.
"Well, not in this form. 2.5 years within this form, I've taken others throughout the years, all of which trying my pursuits."
I don't believe him. 2.5 years is much too long. Anyone would want to kill themselves after being a bard for 10 minutes.
Mert says,
No, really?
Don't let Three Strings hear you outside."
Really, guys?
Thank you.
Fourth wall here.
I thought you'd enjoy that.
I'm gonna start to take this personally.
No, that was
You-
just good. Oh.
Julie speaks up and goes, "Sing orc song."
Orc song? I'm afraid I don't know orcs very well, my boy. Nor do I much care for the guttural tongue personally.
Is there a drummer around?
A drummer, a
There's the
drummer.
wall.
Julie starts. Julie actually is proficient in the drum. It's just one of those random elements that he gets as part of his background. So he'll
Yeah,
start.
drum
He'll
in your-
start banging. He'll start banging out an orc song on the table. And he's singing in orc, which is pretty awful probably to you guys.
Yeah,
but
I want to take
he's-
some cloth and
he
stick it in my
seems to be
ears.
into it. It's like heavy metal, but only drums and screeching. So, and after a while, he'll just look at the bar and go, "Jump in anytime, man."
I don't know why, but I immediately thought to myself, how funny it would be to have the half orc guy, like all of a sudden, like pick up a steel drum and be like, "Hey, we're going down to the Caribbean."
And we go down to the tavern and we press some heads up. No, really. Does he join in? Does he actually start to play?
He starts to hum a little ditty and add in a few lyrics, kind of that hominin. It has nothing to do with whatever it is you're singing, but it's completely made up, kind of on the spot. It's an okay performance.
Yeah, Julie stops and goes, "He's awful, Bard," and goes back and sits down.
I will take my hands, put them on my ears, and use that.
Jordan will kind of poke his hands from out of his ears, and he says, "Is he done yet?"
Okay, if you've been a bard that long and you're that bad, something's wrong.
It was, to be fair, not the best language to be doing a song in.
Everybody's a critic, I swear. Nobody appreciates talent in this group.
What do you bring to the table that the other four don't?
Why, my musical talents, obviously. I'm training to become the best bard in the entirety of this city, if
I'll
not the
interrupt.
world beyond.
Let's say that talent
Julie
isn't
makes
exactly...
air quotes. Julie makes air quotes and says talent.
I'll say, let's assume that talent is not there. What other talents can you offer?
He says, well, I'm beginning my training within the magical talents of using this as my spell focus for, of course, bard capabilities. Like I said, the harpers are well renowned for the wonderful bards within their employ.
And do you know any bards that could speak and vouch for you that are already part of the Harpers?
He says, well, no. The three Mr. Matron Merrig out there might be able to help to arrange this meeting, of course. My first contact of the Harper's Bards.
So you've never attended a Harper's Bards performance?
Well, the Harpers don't necessarily go around blasting themselves as members all the time. They are a network of spies, you know.
Can you at least give us a name of who's teaching you?
Self-taught, my boy.
Oh, we can tell that much.
I'd say 2.5 years, and you've never just happened to stumble across a single performance by a bard that the Harpers might be
He
responsible
says,
for?
"Oh, I've come across many different performances of other bards, but the reputations tend to sink fast under my gaze, under my capabilities."
I'll look over at Mert and kind of, not without saying words, kind of just poke him to speak up about the bards and the Harpers. What do they do for their normal daily activities when they're not doing jobs for the Harpers?
Um,
Bert will say, "Well, generally singing songs and collecting coin, I'd wager."
wait,
So it's safe to say that we would, if there's bards out there singing in the city, there's a fairly high chance that at least some of the bards would be part of your guild already, correct?
hold wait, I have a question, and this will be about whether he will be viable as a Harper person whatsoever. And I'm gonna ask, what's his name again?
Cecil Weiss.
Cecil Weiss. And what name did you go by before?
He says, fuck. I don't have a
Sorry,
name
Gilly, I
generator in
didn't
front
mean
of me.
I didn't mean to catch you off guard.
Jackal Black.
Jackal Black. Okay. Hold on. I'm going to exit. Wait here, I say. I'm going to exit the room. I'm going to shuffle past all these folks here. I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
close both sets of doors behind me as I go. I'm going to open the bar room door, and I'm going to say, "Hey, everybody! Who's ever heard of Jackal Black or Cecil Weiss?"
Everybody just kind of looks haphazardly at you. Nobody's heard of the little shit. Let us sleep.
Okay, I'm going to go back in. Close the doors behind me. It appears that your renown and your services and your possible future fame would probably not help the Harpers out in any way, as no one here knows who the fuck you are.
Well, we all start somewhere.
I think you should start
Mertz.
somewhere else.
He kind of collects himself, gives you a very sort of angry glare, and says, "If that will be all, gentlemen, I have business to attend to."
I will say, why don't you get you a real mentor, learn how to actually use that instrument, and then come see Mert sometime in the future, and maybe be reevaluated. And just leave it at that.
Okay, 2 down.
All right, he will walk out. And next coming in is Miss Nathatha Laristar, a noble woman, very, very beautiful woman, who bows and greets you courteously. And who
That
has the
token must
high?
be dude.
Well, I'm just drawing tokens in, so here we'll just replace him with this. There. And Rotunda, as she kind of enters in, you can't help but note that Durden's brow kind of furrows a little bit.
Furrows as in concern?
Irritation.
Ah.
She says, "A wonderful pleasure to greet you all once again."
So, what's your story, lass?
She says, "I have been living as a noblewoman within the city for the better part of the last 5 years."
And how did you come about this royal form?
Miss Lerostar was a great friend of mine as I served as her maid for a number of years. As she passed away, she feared her legacy would be forgotten. I continued on in the hopes that the legacy of the Lerostar name does not be forgotten, as well as its good graces within the city.
Well, if you're following a noble path, why do you want to join the Harpers?
The name of the Lerostar family could find great renown being forever etched within an organization as renowned and trustworthy as the Harpers. Not to mention the assistance that can come from such an organization. Durden just kind of, Rotund, you notice Durden kind of folds his arms and closes in on himself a little bit.
And what kind of assistance are you implying that the Harpers will provide you?
Should violence outbreak within our state, the Harpers are known to respond in kind with skilled adventurers within their employ in order to defend those who work within the estate, as well as, of course, myself, should the need arise. As violence has grown within the city as of late, it is prudent for those of noble stature to seek capable aid where they can find it in case of violence.
I will say I've only been in this city a short time, but I've noticed one thing for sure: the noble families of this town definitely have the backing of the guards and other military class guilds already. You know, why?
She
What
says,
makes you think that the
from my
Harpers are?
if that were true, then so many would not have died at the Grahan Villa, or so I heard.
I'm going to look at Durgan and I'm going to say, Durgan, you seem to be a bit worked up. Why would this be? You have a history with the fair lass here?
Not with this one, no. Do me a favor. Meet with me for a second in the other room.
All right.
He kind of pulls you aside into the other room and he says, Miss Larrelstar was a good friend of mine, visited the bar for a number of years. Didn't have this pretentious noblewoman air of ass about her. Whoever this woman is, I don't think she knows who Larrelstar truly was.
Yeah,
And I'm afraid she killed her and took her form.
that's what I was thinking actually. Um, do you happen to know anything about her that we might be able to use to expose what she did?
No, and I can't rightly just strike at her, otherwise the guard will be all over me. Not allowed to do this and that to a noble and all that bullshit.
Hmm. Do you happen to know how to force a doppelganger from their form? Is there a way?
Yeah, you put a sword through their chest.
There's got to be something else.
Only if you can convince them to change their form.
Hmm. All right. Well, we'll see what we can do. I'll head back in.
Okay.
Um, you say that Miss, how young does she look?
She's a little aged. Beautiful, but a little aged.
Um,
Early to mid 40s.
so really not that old.
Not that old, but
Um, how did Ms. Laurel die?
I'm afraid she was struck with the pox.
Was it going around the area at the time?
She says, it strikes at random, it seems.
I've never heard of a pops doing that. I've heard of the pops basically laying waste to whole sections of individuals. I've never seen it just isolate. And I'm going to actually kill it with my background with medicine. Would I kind of know that that's more of a plaguish type thing?
Are you proficient in medicine?
I am not proficient, but yes, I am.
Let me look at your character sheet.
There's a check mark there.
Alright, I'll say this then, since you're proficient in it. Pox generally will strike the weak or the sickened. Um, yeah, it can be quite a bit of a plague or a plague-like in nature. It strikes somewhat randomly.
Okay, but weaker the sickened, I would know that much at least.
Yep,
Um,
young and the elderly sort of thing, yada yada yada.
I'm gonna, I'm going to, I'm going to ask Durian right in front of her. Durian, um,
Yep.
the last time you saw Laryl, I'm refusing to call them by like a nobility title. Um,
Hmm.
did she look sick or weak or any kind of condition that would make her a prime candidate for such a disease?
Durnan kind of looks over at her and straight-eyed, with this furrowed brow, says, "No."
Hmm. Here's a question for you. Uh, okay, I have a quick question. So if she's a noble woman of a noble house,
Hmm.
admittedly this is Faerun, and admittedly it's not, the Dark Ages or anything like that, or even, early history. But I would assume that the family name usually still goes on through the male line,
Typically.
typically. Um, I'm going to ask the doppelganger. Um, you said at the beginning that you were trying to continue the what was it? Continue the image of uh
Continue the name,
continue the
but make
name of
sure the
your
legacy
house.
is not forgotten.
Right, and make sure that the legacy is not forgotten. How do you plan on doing this exactly?
The
You're
prominence of the house.
the
The
prominent.
prominence of the house connected with the right people can help to ensure it.
Right, but you're 40, 50-ish now, and I'm assuming you're not going to really age.
Doppelgangers can live quite a long time, yes.
Probably
It's what
quite
makes us it's what makes us unique individuals for employ within the Harpers.
probably quite a lot longer than your average human.
Perhaps.
No, no, there's no perhaps about it. They do or they don't.
She says careful.
Oh no. Uh, you're going to threaten me? I don't trust her, Mert. Get her out.
Mert says, "Miss Laverstar, thank you for spending as much of your precious time with us." Durnan will say, "That's enough, Mert. They're done. They'll contact you if they want. Get the fuck out of my bar." "Very well. Gentlemen, thank you again." And she curtly makes her way out.
Before you bring in
Next.
the next one, Mert, I'd like to speak
Yep.
with Travaring in the next room real fast. Uh,
All right.
and I'm going to say to Durgan, right? Durgan? Yeah,
Durnan?
Turn
Durgan. I'm going to say Durgan. Please bear with me a second.
Sure.
um, listen, lass.
Yeah.
You seem to be good with spells and knowledge and such. I know you're no wizard. I know you're not. But keeping in mind in the back of your head, I don't trust that one. And I think maybe a campaign in the streets about how unnatural her age is might be the way to go. We can't let her run unchecked.
Yeah. Okay. You gonna fill me in that Durnan feels that she may have murdered? Because I wasn't part of all that conversation.
No, I know. Well, yeah, but you
Okay.
heard all the other shit.
Yeah, but
Yeah, yeah, I got you.
Okay.
I will fill you in on that. I will let you know that
Okay.
during those feel that that is the case. And I
I'll acknowledge, and I said, yeah, it sounds like yeah, I kind of think all the first three all have some issues that may need to be addressed at a later time.
I think perhaps some pamphlets spread around town. Anyway, all right. Now I'm gonna go back up into the other room.
All right. The next person to be brought in is the aging male tiefling, who will reintroduce himself. Winifred Cromwell at your service, personal attorney to the Castellanta noble family.
For
So
which family?
The Casalantes.
What
So
does
he's a
that mean?
lawyer.
Mert will say, the Casalanto noble family is a family of someone known within the city. They have great many noble friends, shall we say, and a great number of connections.
So we'll start with the last question. How long have you had your form, and where did you get it?
He says, I have possessed this current form for the better part of about 7 years now. I am afraid that I am under a non-disclosure agreement in order to disclose the informant's information regarding the last individual to bear this form. If it is of any consideration, the noble Castellanta family is quite aware that I am a doppelganger.
Well, let me ask you this: Are
Yeah.
you being sent by them in particular for this position, or did you come about your own free will?
A bit of both. The Castellanta family hopes to establish a good working relationship with the Harpers for the foreseeable future. As you may very well be aware of the increasing violence of the city, having the association with quick responding, capable adventurers within the Harper's employ may make for a useful connection. I myself am under certain scrutiny, being associated with such a noble family, and often am forced to travel within the city alone, especially at night, as you may very well see currently. Having access to protection would be of significant means.
And what kind of skills are you going to provide in return to the Harpers? And let's go ahead and jump past the you're a doppelganger piece because we've heard that 3 times already. What else can you provide us? It's starting to show a little bit of annoyance with what's going on so far.
He says, I and the Castellanta family have a great number of connections through the nobles within the city, and who provide a great deal of wealth and information. As I'm certain you're aware, the Harpers are very much concerned about the inner workings of nobles in order to ensure that they do not abuse the wealth and power granted to them.
So,
So with your NDA, if you were to be part of the Harpers Guild and you can't tell them anything, how are the Harpers going to benefit from your wealth of knowledge? If you keep quoting the NDA every
You
time we ask
see,
you a question.
yeah, kind of. Well, the Castellanta family has their own personal secrets and protections to keep, to which I am personally obliged. It does not mean they do not possess information through which the Harpers might find beneficial.
So if there's ever a conflict of interest between your membership of the Harpers and your loyalty to the family, which one's going to win out?
I am loyal to my family first. I am sorry to say this. This is a transactional proposition, nothing more.
Fair enough.
With that, I'm going to look at Mert and I'm going to say, well, Mert, how do you think that would affect your uh, your dealings with him?
Mert will say, the proposition you place on the table is considerable. However, how would we know that the information that you possess would not be manipulated into your personal benefactor's personal benefit? And he kind of tidies his suit a little bit and says, well, that is why you are here to gauge my trustworthiness, is it not?
what if we could somehow arrange someone from your family that's a higher ranking member, not saying that you're not here obviously on their hearsay, but to arrange more negotiable tidings, shall we say, so that we can find more common ground to allow you into the Harpers.
What do you propose, young man?
I'm simply asking that it would be nice to have an informant on the other end of the nobles, especially with everything else that's been going around recently. Would it be too much to say that, as much as I want to allow him in, maybe finding a way to allow knowledge of their family to be shared along with the knowledge they are going to provide to even out the playing field. Because them giving us information about other families, but not necessarily themselves, could mean they're trying to gain powers in other areas outside of your knowledge as well.
He kind of shrugs his shoulders a little bit.
To-
Go ahead.
To add to that, if you were truly to be deemed trustworthy by the Harpers, I think you need to give them some information that only that that would only hurt your house if it came out. It need not go through all the Harpers. Maybe just Mert here, but that would keep everything on an even keel.
Because I
And
do agree that the information they could provide would be very useful to the Harpers, but they
I
need to have some type of leeway their way.
I agree. The trust is only on one side of the street right now. It needs to be both sides. He
He
wants.
says.
Go ahead.
He says, "Well, given time, I'm sure that we can provide necessary information as the Harpers request."
Well, you say you're a lawyer, right?
Personal attorney for the family, yes.
Then I'm sure you can put something in writing that says that you will provide something for the Harpers that they could possibly use in the future to ensure your trustworthiness.
He says, "I can begin the paperwork and refresh it when I get back to my station."
I'm gonna look at.
Then
Go ahead.
I was going to say, well, then if that is being arranged, I will say once that is all signed and good, I'd say he's willing and more than capable to be allowed as a member of the Harpers.
And to Mert, I'm gonna say, Mert, um, I know you're not obviously the head of the Order of the Harpers, but I think you should run this one up as a possible interest. But you all have to make sure that whatever information you want from them that would ensure their trustworthiness im- is of high enough importance. What do you think?
Mert says, "The possibility for the information, especially amongst the nobility, is something to be considered, though, though I question your judgment in this capability." And he gestures that over to Williford and says, "All the same, see what you can manage, and we can discuss what might be possible within the near future." He's, and Williford will stand up and says, "If there's any other questions, gentlemen, else I must take my leave."
Okay.
I got no other questions.
Best of luck to you.
"Thank you, gentlemen. It's been a wonderful evening." And will make his way out. Finally, walking into the tavern is Bonnie. As she walks in, Durnan will move in a little bit closer. She says, "Hello, boys."
Julie just kind of nods.
So
Go ahead, Kay.
I was gonna say, this is just thing here. So did I know she was a doppelganger? Seeing as how I
No.
knew Bonnie? Okay, I didn't think I did, but I thought I'd ask.
She says, "I apologize for the deception. Obviously, not many folks trust a doppelganger."
No hard feelings.
"If it's of any consideration, I've quite enjoyed working with Mr. Durnan here. Working in the bar has been quite an experience, and really that's all I want to do."
So Durnan, did you know about this?
He says, "I had no idea she was a doppelganger, and frankly, I don't care. She's been a hard worker, had plenty of time she could have abused that trust, never did."
I will say, Bonnie, I really only have one question for you. When did you get this form, and what happened to the person that this form belonged to originally?
She says, "The poor woman, I think, was killed by a street gang during a brawl. I did what I could to nurse her back to health, but unfortunately she passed away."
And what are you looking to provide to the Harpers? I understand you're looking for protection, and as a
She says,
woman working in a bar probably needs, but
"Well, as a body maid, you hear all sorts of rumors and all sorts of things, especially from drunk patrons. There's all sorts of information you can gather from such a setting that can be useful to the right people."
I'll look around the gang and go, well, we sure know that.
and me knowing Durnan as long as I have, I'll kind of look at him as if Durnan has totally faith in her, I do as well. So
And I've known Bonnie since I came to town, and never stood me wrong once.
As much of an asshole as you can be, Durnan. Yeah, I do trust your judgment.
"Thanks."
And with that, I'm going to look at Mert and I'm going to say, I think she would probably be, out of all the people that we've met so far, might be one of your most valuable assets.
And perhaps the fastest analysis we've yet had. Thank you for the information, Bonnie.
Well, we've had dealings with Bonnie, so we've had a longer time to, understand who she is and what she's about.
Fair enough. Bonnie will get you set up with the right people as soon as possible. Thank you again.
So is that about what you were looking for, Mert?
Well, I do have one
Bonnie-
request before we finish this.
Mhm.
I want to
Yes.
bring back in the halfling.
He's already left for the evening.
Damn it. Okay.
You mean the failed bard? Oh no, the bartender.
No, the halfling,
bar-
the first one, yeah.
Yeah.
Bonnie will thank you again. She'll say that she'll look forward to meeting you all again during the next lunch or breakfast or whenever you decide to come by. And she'll take her leave unless you have any other questions for her.
I'll look at Kay. Were you getting ready to offer that halfling a bartending job? 'Cause that's what I was thinking too when he
Well,
left.
okay. Well, my thing is, so my guy has a soft spot for people that have done wrong in their life because of his background, and I believe that he has done wrong. But I wanted to see if maybe he didn't know the man had a family, realizing what he did. Maybe he's trying to fill the void of what he would have taken away. I know, like, it's not necessarily the best thing he could have done, but maybe he realized what he had done and is trying to make up for that to them.
So I will look at. I'll turn to Mert. Since you know how to get a hold of these people, is there a way you can arrange a secondary meeting with that halfling at Troll Skull sometime in the future for Kay to have a conversation with the guy?
Three Stings will pipe up and say, "I think we can get a hold of him again, though. Can I ask why you'd want to meet him again?"
We may have a position for him at Troll Skull, as maybe our bartender. We don't know yet.
At that, Julie will snort, and he'll look at Pins, the guy who hired us to do this whole mess, and he'll say, "You share a cave with Snake. What happens? You get bit. Not Snake's fault, just his nature." And he points
I'll
up towards the
immediately look
door where they
over
all
at
are.
Julie. Please tell me you did not put snakes in the cellar.
You missing point. Their nature is kill people, take over their lives.
What if they
And
found a life worth
he
living for?
looks at Mins and says, "Don't be surprised when it happens.
Oh, so who?
Not their fault. It's their nature."
Wait, he
You
looks
say
at
looks over
who?
at Min's?
The guy who's hiring us to do this whole interrogation of the.
I immediately thought he was talking about
Oh, Merc.
minions.
Yeah,
I
he
thought-
said Mims, and I'm like, what?
I did say Mins.
It's like-
I meant Merc.
Uh,
But yeah, he says that to him. He's like, not Snake's fault. It's
Here's
his nature.
here's
Same thing here.
here's the thing. I agree with Julie on this one. Unfortunately, he's basically
Mertz.
taking over the the life of a known bartender and impersonating him in front of his friends and family, and hasn't even once thought about telling them who he really was or what really happened.
What if there's a conscience
Yeah.
behind that reasoning?
Yeah, but Julie says maybe we asked people whose lives they took whether they should be allowed in, or if they're good people.
I will look at Julie and I will gauge around the group. I will just like open my arms out to the rest of us.
Mert says, well, that one did seem a bit shifty.
I didn't believe him at all. I think he directly killed that halfling.
I completely agree. I think he did, but my thought is if he killed someone and took over them, why would he still take care of the family?
Better to blend in. But what could he have possibly had a reason for killing a halfling? Because the halflings have so many, roughneck, or rough and tumble neighborhoods where they have to work,
Jordan says, actually, believe it or not, there are some kind of rough and tumble neighborhoods with the halflings nearby. They don't exactly live in the nicest part of town, many of them.
And maybe this is his way of giving back to the family. I don't know. I'm just saying maybe there's more we don't know that he's not telling us, and I want to ask.
You can
I say, guys, I have a solution to this. Durnan, just come work for us at Troll Skull and leave this place behind. And we don't worry about it anymore.
You're
Wait.
funny.
Didn't we already hire a bartender?
No.
No.
Oh no, we were putting out one ads.
You put out one of the ads, yeah.
Yeah, okay. And we got a bar back maybe if the kid'll, come down from his price, but fucking making a mint.
Didn't you want to turn that beat up robot into a bartender?
I think that was the other idea that they had. Yes.
I
I'm
just
just
want to
saying-
turn it into the sign and rename Troll Skull to Beholder Pub.
Instead of the mechanical bull, the mechanical beholder.
Mert says, well, if nothing else, you've helped us to gauge the responsibility of these gentlemen. Honest work, honest pay.
Mert, before you go, the real question for you. Why are you looking to hire doppelgangers into the guild? I mean, you brought us 5 and no one else. So there's obviously a reason you're looking for doppelgangers to be part of your group. Why? Please let us know.
Mert will gesture to 3 strings and say, he's the one who wants it done. And 3 strings will say, they can get into places most others can't. Obviously, they're naturally untrustworthy, but the information that they can provide and their capabilities as doppelgangers, of course, allows them to sneak by where a conventional spy otherwise would have trouble, especially where magic might be involved.
Last question, and has Bonnie already left?
She's probably cleaning up out in the bar.
Okay, well I'm gonna say to 3 strings, what you ask is quite dangerous. While the appearance of that young lass out there might be willing to listen for rumors and gossip and talk, are you sure she's ready to go on a mission for you? Because if you want her to impersonate someone else, you would really, really have to ask her if that's something that's in her wheelhouse.
He says, obviously that's given, but you never know. The most unassuming people can make for the most powerful performers.
Fair enough. And
Mert will lay a pouch of gold on the table, which contains 50 gold for each of you.
I'm gonna say Mert and 3 strings by default. Anything else you need from us in the future, please don't forget to ask.
Of course not, my friend. Of course not, my friends. Thank you for your assistance this evening. Take your payment. Rest well.
I open the bag and take my 50 gold. And
I do the same.
Okay.
Oh, I'll snag my gold and pocket it, I guess.
Yep. Same
Dernet
here.
says, "Thanks, y'all. Now get out of here. I got a place to clean up."
Before I leave, I'll say to Durgan, Durgan, we'll see what we can do about Miss Laryl. I don't like that.
Anything?
I don't like. I don't like the fact that she's impersonating someone with that much influence either.
She says, or he says, "I appreciate the help, but careful. As far as the rest of the guard are concerned, she's a noble and can get a lot of trouble for fucking with them."
Oh, I'm aware.
And he will make his way out, assuming that the rest of you are.
yep.
Okay. You got your 50 gold for this particular mission? Quest turn-in?
Yay!
What would you like to do?
Do-do.
Well, I don't think we have any other major agenda items. And I
We
know
gotta wait till
Dorloff hasn't said much, so he's been drinking the whole time. So I think we could probably just head on back.
You've just become neutral with the Harpers.
Actually, based on the renown, you're probably closer to revered at this point.
Well, always good. I guess head back home because a flying snake sent a message to our friend that said we have to meet somebody in front of a grave in the morning or in the midday.
afternoon.
Well, I'd say
Noon.
midday. Midday.
Okay. You head back home?
Think so.
All right. You make your way back. It's kind of late in the evening at this point, probably after midnight.
Yeah, I'm just gonna retire to my room.
Where are we keeping the stone? Anyone?
I don't
I
even
thought it
know
was
who
just chilling in
has
your
it.
pocket.
Who has it now?
I thought Rotund did.
I didn't grab the stone.
I thought maybe Julie did.
I
I
think
thought I had
Julie
remembered
had
it,
it.
but yeah, all right. So Julie will just keep it down in his little man cave. Or keep
Presumably
it
in the
on
guy's
his
hoarding.
person. Yeah, in
Oh.
the back. Well, yeah, but he's going to keep that on his person. Okay.
Assuming the rest of you let that happen.
Letting Julie hold on to the stone.
Yeah.
Well,
Honestly, I think he could cleave someone in half if anyone tried to take it, so I'll allow it.
well, Julie really hasn't given me any reason to mistrust Julie as long as Julie isn't going on a mission for the Zentarum. So I have no problem with it as long as he's not. As long as I get the impression that he's not going to hand it over to anyone.
Okay.
I lied.
Anything else you guys are doing?
I
While
want
you're
to ask frickin' Rivalova what she meant. I will sit in my circle and commune.
Okay.
I'm going to
While
sleep.
we're waiting. Okay. Anybody else do anything else for the evening?
I'm just going in the room.
Okay. Fella?
Sitting at the bar drink.
Okay. With this body of a Nimblewright still laying haphazardly over the bar there.
Yep.
For what it is worth, the bedroom of yours, Kay, has been completely refurnished at this point, and the library has been cleaned up completely. There are fresh bookshelves in there. However, there are no books on the new bookshelves.
Except for the one I got and I put in there earlier at the beginning of
Yeah.
the campaign.
Right. But that's all furnished. Your bedroom's all furnished and all that jazz. As your commune, Rivalova will share. The blade in which I have been imbued in has the innate ability to sense those who are affected by the lunar cycles. It's one of the innate benefits of being so tightly connected with the Shadowfell. That halfling, his form is affected by the moon.
So, are doppelgangers also affected by the moon? Or are we talking lycanthropy here?
The doppelganger itself cannot be affected by lycanthropy, but I sense that that gnome has stayed close to many.
Huh. Okay. Well, now I really have to find this fucking halfling. Alright, that'll be all. Thank you.
Okay. If there's nothing else, you guys rest up for the evening, getting the benefits of a long rest. In the early morning, what would you like to do?
I am going to let the group know. Well, I'm going to go downstairs when everyone gets in here. I guess I'll let them know, but I will say that I believe the halfling has more connected to him than even what we originally believed.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I may have heard through the grapevine that he may be somehow attached to. I don't want to say lycanthropes because I'm not quite sure, but people who are affected by the cycle of the moon.
What makes you think this?
I have ways of knowing things outside of my current knowledge. I have an extra set of eyes and ears, shall we say.
Uh,
I'll just say, so that's all that racket is across the hall when I'm trying to trance.
I'm concerned at what you think you're hearing. Because I think at most you'd hear me like mumble some stuff and then just me talking to myself.
Well, I was trying not to judge.
I'm just saying though, if the opportunity arises that we can question him some more, it might be beneficial to do so.
guess I'm game if you all are.
I don't know, I'd already proposed that 3-string up. So, I'm still on board with that. What's the conversation going to hurt?
Yeah, we still don't know if he's going to show up or not, or when he's going to show up even, I suppose. But other than that, I guess we just wait till noon and then meet at that statue.
I will pose a question that's kind of concerning me. Since we have these doppelgangers running around town, do we not suspect that maybe we're actually have more encounters with them than we realize? Because it
Oh,
seems like
it's very likely.
so
Very likely.
makes me going to be a little bit more cautious about all of our contacts until I don't know we figure out a much better way to discern who we can trust. Going back to the whole people seem to know more about our business than even we do
Well,
conversation.
perhaps you can inquire in with Team Gray. It is Team Gray, isn't it?
Force Gray.
Force Gray. If there is any reliable way to detect doppelgangers.
Well, I can do that, and I can also go by the Grand Library and do some research.
Considering it's early in the morning and we have to be at the what do you call it by noon. Why don't you swing by there and meet us at the
At the theater?
no, not the theater. Oh wait, are we going by the theater first?
No, but I mean, by the time I do my research and go over there, it's going to be noon.
The meeting's not at the theater though at noon.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So I'd meet you at the theater after noon.
Oh, gotcha.
After y'all go to the theater, y'all go to the other meeting place with Julie.
Yeah, Julie would appreciate someone else coming to watch his back.
All right. What are you doing?
I'll go with Treverin if that's okay. To
Yeah.
the library.
Okay.
Yep.
You two are heading out to the library.
We'll go by Force Gray first and just talk to them.
Okay. So you're heading to Force Gray and then to the library.
Correct.
All right. What about the rest of you?
Go with Julie.
Yeah,
All
we're
right.
just gonna hang out until it's almost like give us enough time to get to the statue around noon, and then meet with
Okay.
this individual.
Sure. Dreloff, what do you do? I see you're typing.
Yeah, somebody's at the door or something. My dog's going nuts. I'm gonna go back up.
Julie.
Yeah, Julie. Couldn't remember his damn name for a second. Hold on, my dog.
Yep, go ahead and take care of your shit. We'll deal with the other two first. All right, so Treverin and Kay, you guys make your way over to Blackstaff Tower. In the north, in the wherever the hell ward it is. You make your way over to Blackstaff Tower. I think it's probably your first time there. You see this big old mage tower. You can see different apprentices who are practicing lower forms of magic as you get into the higher tiers of the tower itself. You can see wizards performing particularly powerful magic and skilled wizards beyond even yours. But as you make your way to the very top of the tower, you see this woman who's a little petite in stature. She will introduce herself to you as Vajra Saphir, excuse me. Vajra Saphir. You can see she's wielding within one of her hands a black staff that looks to be, I mean, even from this distance, seems you can sense a deep arcane nature to it. And you even hear Rivalova whisper, "A powerful weapon in her hands. It would serve well." And she will say, "A pleasure to make your acquaintance. Treverin, wonderful to see you again. How can Force Grey aid you?"
Can we talk in private?
She will nod, and she says, "If you'll be so kind, I do have my personal guard here at all
Yep.
times."
No, that's fine. I just
She'll
don't want other ears hearing.
she'll
Arguments.
gesture a couple of note takers and everything out of the room for a brief moment, and it's you alone with her and her personal guard.
And Kay could be there. I mean, I just wanted to be.
Sure.
It's okay. I understand.
No. I'll say, I appreciate you meeting us this morning. We've come with some disturbing information about doppelgangers being in town, and we encountered a few last night and it's got us wondering that we may be actually dealing with more than just a few, and seeking your advice on if you have any information on how to detect them, or help us be better prepared if we encounter more? Because it seems to be a lot more prevalent in the city than we originally thought it would be.
Okay, so first off, that's what she looks like, in case you're curious.
Very
And she says,
sporty.
she says, I can send some scouts out and do what we can to detect, but the difficult thing about doppelgangers is their transformation isn't magical in nature. It's an inherent ability within the creature itself. Uh, it's very difficult to tell a doppelganger just by looking at them. You have to typically catch them within the act.
Gotcha. So so it's non-magical. Is there any traits that you may be aware of that we could look for in identifying?
Well,
And
she
more
says,
importantly, like, are they weak to anything? We just have some concerns now that maybe they're trying to infiltrate, our troll skull and maybe getting ready to do something to us, and that we're targets.
she says, what makes you concerned that you might be a target of doppelgangers?
The main concern is that it seems like even discreetly things that we're involved with the knowledge gets known by lots of people, even before we know we're even involved. And it just seems like there's things going on, and what we encountered last night, they're obviously infiltrating everywhere, and we're just trying to be better prepared to make sure that the contacts that we're making and the friends and that we're making throughout the city are legit and honorable ones.
She kind of rolls her brow and has a kind of a sly smile, and she says, tell me, are you familiar at all with the disguise self and alter self spells?
I'm familiar with them. I do not know them.
She says, let us say that an individual using this particular magic were to disguise himself as your friend there, Mr. K. Well, how would you discern the difference between the two?
Well, normally their personality traits or their idioms would be unique, right? The sky self wouldn't actually take on the traits of the person.
She leans in close and says, and that is how you tell if somebody is a doppelganger.
But the
Somebody who
problem,
knows the individual of the form whom they have taken will be able to tell just based on those idioms whether or not they themselves are a doppelganger.
but the problem is we're so new to this town, we don't know the idioms of the original people that these guys are taking over, right? I mean, we found out last night one of them has been in disguise for over 7 years.
She kind of shakes her head and says, doppelgangers tend to take on the appearance and lives of those whom they are jealous of. Um, Once they find a form that they like, they tend to stick to it for many years, doing whatever they can to drive suspicion away from themselves. If someone has taken a form for that long, it is likely that the person whose form they have taken did not have many connections. I'm not justifying these actions by any means.
No,
Uh,
I understand. And
I'm
so I appreciate it, and I will say, and you being kind of an investigatory sort of group, I will highly say that we've even been given information that potentially some high-ranking uh, uh,
She
the
says, there is one thing. If a doppelganger is hoping to take on the forms of a specific creature as part of a long-term plot, it's entirely possible that the form in which they adopt is never killed. Instead, it is captured for an extended period of time while the doppelganger reads its thoughts and learns how to behave and speak like the creature whose form they adopt.
Okay. I bow. I said thank you. That's kind of that's what my suspicion is about. Is about a young lad that we rescued from the Xanthar Guild. Just I don't know. There's some things that now seem more in question than they once were.
She says, "If I may, is there any way the Forced Grey can help you with this endeavor? What is it you're afraid of?"
I don't know. I'll look over at Kay and see if he has any comments.
Mostly that maybe some individuals that we might be contacted with might also be doppelgangers and sharing knowledge within the ring of them.
You suspect that doppelgangers have been spying on you.
Most likely.
She says, "While I would not entirely dismiss the possibility, do keep in mind you are in a city full of thieves and skilled artisans. It's entirely possible it could be someone skilled at magic, or someone very, very good at hiding."
I would have this feeling it's not that.
I agree. Additional question. With doppelgangers, do spells that alter appearance work on them as if any other creature? Do they have any any weaknesses or inherent resistances to stuff that may help us identify a potential threat?
She says, "I would assume they are quite immune to polymorph, but beyond this, I'm not sure what you can do to identify one beyond just uh, beyond its idioms, as you so discreetly put it."
Right. Okay. All right. I thank you for your time this morning. And if there's anything else we can do for the Force Grey, please let us know. And appreciate the time.
I'll extend my hand and go, "Pleasure to meet you."
You as well.
And we'll head off to the library to see if there's any other additional research we can find.
Okay. As you make your way off to the library, you're looking specifically for information regarding the nature of doppelgangers, then?
Pretty much. I mean, that's what we're essentially looking for. I don't know if Kay has additional research he wants to do, or while we're down the library, is there maybe some books or stuff that maybe we can think about filling our study with if they have a I don't know a recycle or half price book offering or
Half-price
something.
books.
Yeah, just we hadn't been to the library anyway, and I know we're both scholars, so we probably should have made a visit earlier.
Okay. So, is just to make this quick, I'll have you guys roll a check as far as finding a book. But is there any other information while you're at this library that you specifically are trying to get a hold of?
Um. While we're at the library, since we kind of probably exhausted most of what we can learn about the doppelgangers, maybe there's some books or some history on the stone or the events that took place that led to the ousting of the mayor
I was thinking the same thing.
just maybe some stuff around that and maybe build up a little bit more knowledge about what happened and why he's accused of embezzling funds. What's the proof, and if there's any evidence by it.
Okay. Excuse me. So here's what I'll say. I'm gonna have you can either have the both of you make a perception check for
Okay.
doppelganger information, or you can have one of you make the check with advantage.
You said perception.
Yes.
All right.
So you're kind of flipping through books trying to find something.
Yeah. All right. I'll do it with advantage.
Go ahead.
Okay. All right. So you're flipping through. It doesn't take you very long to find a book on different shape-shifting entities. Believe it or not, the book is written by Volo. and it shares the following information, namely that doppelgangers' adopted forms allow it to blend into almost any group or community, but the transformation does not naturally impart languages, mannerisms, memory, or personality. They often follow or capture creatures they intend to impersonate, studying them and probing their minds for secrets. They have the innate ability to read the surface thoughts of creature. They can, at the very least, glean that creature's name, their desires, their fears, as well as a couple of different scattered memories, depending on whatever their surface thoughts are at the time. You also learn, firstly, confirm what Vajra said. They can capture somebody in an effort to impersonate them in a long term. You learn that doppelgangers can work alone or in small groups. The roles within the group shifting from plot to plot. You can have one doppelganger take the place of a murdered merchant or noble, while the other one takes a number of identities as circumstances warrant, including playing the parts of a family or servants while they live off the victim's riches. You have also finally learned, because of the crit, doppelgangers are too lazy or self-interested to raise their young. They often assume attractive male forms and seduce women, leaving them to raise their progeny. A doppelganger child appears to be a normal member of its mother's species until it reaches adolescence, at which point it discovers its true nature and is driven to seek out its kind to join them.
So what I got out of that is the doppelgangers are more likely to be males and not females.
Typically. Or at the
Okay.
very least, when they reproduce, or when they look to reproduce,
Okay.
they will assume the male forms.
Okay. All right. Cool.
And doppelgangers are normally very lazy and or self-interested. And then as far as information regarding the Stone of Galore, it doesn't take you long to kind of look up that information in the library, although most of it doesn't say much about the stone itself. You learn that, in fact, let me pull up those notes here. You learn that Lord Daggled Neverember, while he was the Lord of Waterdeep, embezzled at least 500,000 gold and supposedly hid the cash somewhere within Waterdeep. And nobody really knows how to find it. There are some brief rumors regarding something called the Stone of Galore, but the information regarding the stone itself is not listed within the books that you find.
Is it like missing? Is in these books? Are the pages torn out, or is it just like
It
not
looks
there?
like it's not there. Like it's
Okay.
either was omitted or there was no information to give.
Okay. I look at Kay and say, "Well, I'm not finding a whole lot that's going to help us, other than I have, this one book about the doppelgangers. May lead us back to our good old friend Volo."
Well, then, on a personal note, I want to try and dig around real quick just to see if I can't find a book on interdimensional summoning.
Make a perception check. No.
Damn. Gotta start somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, that's all then.
Okay. Going back to those of you who have made your way over to the statue.
Yes.
Okay, now I have to reopen that page because apparently I closed it. Okay. So, you make your way over towards the statue itself. The three of you. The Algerian statue is this big, gigantic statue. Usually stands just its head just over the city walls. It's this tall marble sculpture that is shaped to look like a bearded robed wizard standing atop concentric steps, and it faces west towards the skyline of the city. His hands are outstretched and there's a broad smile on his face like he's just welcoming in the sun. At the foot of the statue, as you wait, approaching you, you see a female dwarf clad in plate armor. The weather around you is fair. You can see around you different pedestrians are walking by. At this time of day, there's actually a couple of picnickers that are sitting in the nearby garden who are in the middle of their lunch, as well as a few children who are kind of frolicking and playing with one another. This is a open, public, safe place. And as this dwarf approaches you, she says, I understand you are involved with matters involving... I understand you were involved with events surrounding Gralhorn Villa.
Julie just kind of shrugs and looks at her. Again, not confirming or denying.
She says, if you were involved, they might use you in your connections to other members of Zentarum.
Who be ye?
I be Istrid.
Yeah, who do you represent? All we know is that we have a flying snake dropping off messages. I'd like
She
to know
says,
who you work for.
We
She
here
says-
is courtesy.
she says, be fair. I be the master of trade and coin for the Black Network.
The Black Network being the Zentarum.
Yeah.
Yes, you would know that.
Okay.
I operate a lending operation of sorts out of the dock ward. I understand you're in the middle of trying to get up an old manor and tavern run. I'll tell you what, you managed to stay here and meet with me. She takes out a pouch, puts it in your hands, and says, that's for the meeting. If you help me lie low for at least 10 days, I can give you another 40.
Lie
Half when
low.
you... If you...
She
She says, shh. The city guard are on watch for anybody belonging to the Zentarum, and I'm worried they're going to eventually find me out.
To be fair, I'm not exactly too trustworthy of the Black Network myself.
To be fair, you've worked with us already. If I get arrested, I'm not afraid to root you out.
Julie will say, City Watch already has eye on our place. Wouldn't be safe to keep you there.
Don't worry, I can disguise myself.
Being, being,
Being
being,
that everyone in this town is a doppelganger.
being a dwarf, I'm gonna look her up and down and be like, oh, what? You're going to become a hill giant.
She says, what are you, some sort of dunce? No, I can disguise myself to look like a different dwarf. If I just do it within my own operation, it won't make a hell of a difference now, would it? And by the way, this is what she looks like.
I don't trust her at all.
And by
There's
the
not
by,
enough alcohol to make you look good.
Wow.
she furrows her brow and says, and you look like you've been swimming in rat water for days, dwarf.
To be fair, he has been swimming in rat water for days.
Julie nods enthusiastically. That's irony.
um,
So
what?
you want us to hide you? He says quietly.
For at least 10 days. Just enough to get the guards off me scent.
While I love gold, why should we do this?
Better question, what did you do?
Let's just say the money operation, the lending operation isn't exactly legal.
I'm gonna look at Julie and say, Julie, you've had more dealings with these folks than I have, but I have a real hard time thinking that we're gonna allow this one back at our home.
By the way, do you open that pouch that she gave you?
Not yet.
No, not yet. But Whatever's in there, she's going to give us 40 more. All right, Julie will look.
10 platinum.
Wow, that's a lot of money. Julie's considering it. That's this would put him well on his way to a set of plate armor. Now, he says, unfortunately, because tavern not mine. Have to talk to others. Meet here again tomorrow. You'll have my answer.
She nods and says, "Fine, but don't be all day about it."
We'll be exactly 1 day about it. See you here tomorrow, same time.
And you walk away?
Yep.
Okay. She kind of huffs and continues along her way.
And 10 platinum. Love it.
Julie, question. What jobs have we exactly... Well, I know what jobs we've helped out the Zens with, which was the one job where we didn't do anything terribly illegal, except for having someone smell awful for days. And that should just be illegal because... Have you done anything that would be questionable?
Julie shakes his head and says, no. He goes, but remember how you were wondering how I knew about house where what was it, the half orc guy and the noblewoman?
Mm-hmm.
What was the name of that manor? Whatever. He says that. Remember how you asked how I knew about that? He
Mm-hmm.
goes he goes he just shrugs.
Um, well,
I tell them things, they tell me things, but haven't done. He says, um, made a delivery for them one time for money too.
what did you deliver?
Bottles.
Um, okay.
Go get case of bottles from store. Take to other place. That's all it was.
All right. Okay. Do you trust her?
I trust she's telling the truth when she says she'll give us up if she gets caught.
Yes, but my point is exactly what can she give up? We've broken no laws as far as I know under her employ, unless you were delivering bottles like with, illicit substances in them.
They have lots of connections. Wouldn't be too hard to make us look like we did something illegal. They they're the ones who tried to pin the what are the murders at that manor on us.
Growlhund Villa.
Growlhund Villa, right?
I literally look Julie up and down and say, "You're only now catching on to this?" Okay,
He
okay.
he shrugs. I learn slow, but I learn.
Hmm.
Haven't trusted them since.
You know, I'm thinking that we could become... What was it? How much was it? She gave us 10 platinum?
10 platinum.
10 platinum for the meeting.
And she would give us 40 more just to hide her for 10 days.
Hide her for 10
And we
days.
could probably negotiate that up. Thanks, Julie.
Making sure there's no one around as we're walking back home. I'm going to say,
I assume you're talking quietly.
Yes, quietly and not within earshot. Like I'll make sure that we're walking away from people, unless somebody's following us with a Harry Potter cloak of invisibility. I don't assume that we're being listened to too closely.
Wingardium Leviosa.
Yeah. But I was going to say, Julie, do you think if we might arrange the meeting tomorrow, we might arrange a meeting with someone else tomorrow at roughly the same time? Maybe the city guard at the same place, unbeknownst to the Zentarum?
Julie thinks Zentarum would have contacts in the city guard who
Yeah,
would tip them off. Who would tip them off? Very unlikely we'd surprise them
well,
using city resources.
mayhap what if we didn't have the city guard meet us? What if we took a certain unconscious dwarf to the city guard?
In Julie's estimation, Kelly, how formidable did he consider her? I mean, she's hefting around that hammer, and she had plate armor on.
Make a perception check. You don't know.
She might not be formidable at all.
I'm
She has
telling
the
you,
strength of a beholder.
this character is cursed, man. Oh, the one die roll I make today.
Isn't perception based on dex?
No, it's based on wisdom.
Oh, is it wisdom? Okay, my
Yeah,
bad.
that's his lowest score. This is wisdom.
Okay. All right. Well, I tell you what. Let's let's go back to the tavern and maybe discuss it with our friends, and we can see which way they lean on this whole subject. But I don't feel comfortable having a Zent under my roof for a week or 10 days.
Yeah, well, Julie says he wouldn't mind the coin, but with us having the stone now, it's dangerous.
I
All she
agree.
has to do is get wind of that, and we've got an army of Zentarum invading the tavern. I think she'd risk getting caught for a chance at that.
Hmm.
Otherwise, could really use the coin. Oh, I give you half the platinum too. By the way,
Oh, okay.
was it two of us or three of us?
Three
It
of
was two
us.
of us, right?
There's three of you.
Yeah, three of us.
All of us with you.
All right, he'll give you each three.
That's fine. Dra- Drops the one that was smelling looked like he'd been swimming with sewer rats. Uh, but yeah, let's go home and discuss it.
All right. Oh, we got to get to the. We should go home and regroup and go to the theater, right? That was our next.
Oh, we gotta go to the theater, not
next
home.
idea.
Not home.
I didn't want to say anything to see if you guys fucking went back. I was waiting. I was like, well, I guess they're not showing up.
Okay. So after your respective meetings and such elsewhere, do you all collectively head to the theater?
Yeah.
Okay.
The original plan was for us to meet each other at the theater.
At the theater, yeah. After
Yeah.
we
Now,
got done doing our
look,
individuals.
there are small details I miss.
Is that a short joke?
Mm-hmm.
All right. As you arrive at the theater itself, all the doors of the theater itself are actually closed, except for ones leading over to the backstage. As you are directed inside by some nearby stagehands who say that Mr. Mysteri is waiting for you. You can see there's the entrance to the back door inside. As you make your way inside, presumably you can see different actors and stagehands who are bustling about. There's a director who's in the middle of arguing with the playwright, and the stage manager looks like he's just watching helplessly. As you can see on the stage, there are actors walking through their scenes and reading their lines to a mostly empty theater. The exception to that rule is one man who looks like a little bit of a dandy, watching this all kind of play out. And there is a woman on the center of the stage going through a number of her lines. She's a little older, but still quite beautiful looking, and she's dressed up in a beautiful sort of blue dress.
Who are we meeting here, guys?
We are meeting Menace.
Ronquan Mysteri.
Yeah. I didn't realize her first name. Yep.
Okay.
Mr. Ministeri is the contact.
Okay.
And your tokens are up there. You can move them around to wherever you want to move in here.
So the understudy or whoever let us in says Ministeri is expecting us. Did he point us the direction where to meet him? Is he the guy sitting?
He points you in the direction of the guy sitting in the middle. Yeah.
Of the stand. Okay. So without trying to disturb the lady on the stage, I'd say we kind of come this way.
Okay.
I'm gonna randomly walk by. Are there props and stuff in the stage in the back?
There's different props and stuff that look like they're being managed by different stagehands. You kind of push your way past the rest of them as they direct you over to the gentleman in the chamber there.
As we're walking by, is there like a skull or something like that, or anything like that?
Sure, it looks like there might be one kid sitting in a box full of them.
I'm gonna pick one up and I'm gonna go. Hey guys, look at this. Alas, poor Yorick. I knew him well. And then they'll just ignore me. And
one of the stagehands will take the skull from you and say, "Please don't mess with the equipment," and put it back in, kind of wheel the cart away.
Damn it.
And the gentleman in the auditorium will gesture you to kind of join him in the seats.
I'll come take a seat next to him.
He says, "Greetings, my friends. I understand that Miss Silverhand has instructed you as far as recent developments. I'm hoping you have some good news for me."
Potentially some good news, but we'd rather talk about that news directly with her. When can we arrange a meeting?
He says, "She is using me as an informant for her for the time being."
And I'll say, yep, I totally understand that, and I'm informing you that we would like to have a meeting with her.
He says, "I can see what I can do about arranging a meeting if it suits your interests."
Well, let's just say it would suit her interest if we have a meeting in private somewhere.
"For what it is worth," he kind of laughs and says, and kind of lowers his voice, leans in close to you and says, "It would be unwise for the lady of the city to be seen commuting regarding this stone as part of a wild goose chase. Tell me, did you find it?"
And I'll lean back. It'd be unwise for newcomers to the city to have possession of such stone in public.
"You are not in public. Do not worry."
I look around and I say, looks like we're in public to me.
Julie says, "When we find it, what should we do with it? What do you recommend?"
He says, this gold belongs to the citizens of Waterdeep. I and the Lady Silverhand are looking to ensure that it returns back to her citizens.
I will say,
Didn't answer my question, says Julie.
He says, I'm sorry, what was your question?
If we were to find it, what does he suggest we do with it?
He says, well, if you have it, I can tell you whether or not it's the real stone.
How would you tell?
Because I'm familiar with the stone. I was there when Mr. Neverember used it.
Wait. Question.
Speak your mind.
That doesn't jive with what we were told about the stone, though.
Yeah.
Like if he wouldn't remember what it looked like, or how
You were told
anything
that
about
those
it.
who used the stone were not familiar with it.
I thought you said anyone who held the stone.
Oh, he
Mm-hmm.
didn't hold it.
I
He
thought it
didn't
was
say he held it.
anyone who lost the stone is what I heard.
He didn't say he used it. He
So
didn't say he lost it.
okay.
He said he's seen it before.
I will say. So you say you saw where the stone was last used. So
I
you know where
saw.
the treasure is and how to
Oh,
use the stone.
he says, I don't know where the treasure itself is hid. If I did, we would not be looking for the stone. I do know what the stone looks like, however, and I know a few things about the properties of it.
Wait a minute. So let me get this straight. The stone allows. The stone is what? A key?
Of sorts.
What does that mean, of sorts?
It points you in the right direction. For what it is worth, my friends, the meeting you had with Miss Silverhand did not go as fruitful as she had hoped. You'll forgive me if I'm withholding information in the interest of her own personal grace.
Um, I can respect that, and that's even more the reason why we're requesting to meet with her. And
Um,
so I will say it. So you've seen the stone. You know what it looks like.
Mm-hmm.
Can you describe it to us?
He says, the stone is a sentient being. If you found it, it would be speaking to you, or whoever held onto it.
If you guys look at Julie, he just shrugs and shakes his head.
judging on how you roll perception, I could see why you didn't hear it. um, okay. Um, it would be speaking to us or speaking to said person.
So,
Yes, it guides the user to the location of the vault, and when the user loses the stone, they forget all memory of it. It is a
so,
sentient being that controls these thoughts.
so my question to you then is, if you were around when Neverember used it, what's your relation to him, and as opposed to Miss Silverhand now?
I was one of his spies. I served the city of Waterdeep, and, well, he was the open lord of it.
And you're not a member of any other institution like the Harpers?
He says, my interests serve those of the city of Waterdeep and its lords. All of its lords. At that, Treveran, go ahead and make a history check. You don't know the details, but when he references that, you know he is referring not just to the Open Lord of Waterdeep, but the large council of the Masked Lords of Waterdeep, secret individuals within the city who hold counsel over the major decisions of the city and its individuals.
Okay, and with that information, that I'll say, based on what you're telling me there, that's why I have more concerns, because I believe that there are some high-ranking lords that are not who they say they are.
He says, what is it you are aware? What is it you are concerned about, dear elf?
Well, if we recover the said stone and we just hand it over to you, that these people that are making the decisions may not give the gold back to the citizens of Waterdeep.
Which is why it's been kept secret for between Lady Lariel
Yep.
and myself.
All right.
And is this supposed embezzled funds? Is it from just the wealthy, the top 1% of Waterdeep, or is it in the interest of all of Waterdeep?
She says, the funds have been he says, excuse me, the funds have been embezzled from the whole of Waterdeep, mostly through its taxes, embellished. You see, the money gathered from those taxes is supposed to be used in order to rebuild the city itself, its infrastructure, the buildings, its monuments, things of that nature. Mr. Neverember instead took the money for his own personal financing and used it to rebuild not the city of Waterdeep, but the city of Neverwinter, from which he now declares himself Open Lord. The remaining embezzled funds are hidden somewhere within the city. I believe Neverember intended to reclaim the remaining number of it at some point, with his now deceased rock gnome spy, in an effort to try to use it to further build upon the city of Neverwinter.
I say, if that is the case, then how did we fit in at the beginning of this story when supposedly this gnome was coming to us with said stone?
Well, you rescued Mr. Neverember's son. It's likely he thought you could be trustworthy and capable. And I believe Miss
What,
Silverhand would
retreating?
not have caught. Yes, and I believe Miss Silverhand thinks the same.
I kind of look over at Kay, who's sitting on the other side of him, and kind of catch his posture on what this guy's saying.
Honestly, I trust about everyone that we've been contacting so far about as far as I can throw them, and I'm a very weakly person, so.
You know you're doing your job as a dungeon master when your entire party doesn't trust a single NPC you throw at them.
I'm just saying, like, ever since we started talking to the fucking Xantorum and the Xanathar and all other shit, every person we've come into contact to, I've been less and less inclined to trust.
To be fair, we've only really killed Zentarum Xantharians, really.
Yeah, the Xenotharms aren't really the talk and persuade type. They're more of the give us what we want or we'll kill you type.
Droloff?
Beer.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
that was just me.
I
That
know.
wasn't-
I mean, Um, so if we hand over the stone once we find it, what is your intent on retrieving the treasure? Or is it you that's going to go get it? Sounds like an awful lot of gold for one person to go get.
He says, it would not be up to me to retrieve it. Upon retrieval of the stone and knowing the location, I believe Miss Silverhand herself would like to see its return.
Right, but that's still an awful lot of treasure for 2 people to get. You see where I'm getting
You
at? If you're trying
you
to retrieve
misunderstand.
this treasure,
You
only 2 of y'all
misunderstand,
know
my
about
friend.
it.
You
Okay.
misunderstand, my friend. Miss Silverhand and her personal retinue of elite guard would be going in to personally oversee the safe return of the gold to the citizens of Waterdeep.
I see.
Now, is she just like gonna walk out and spread the
So,
gold across the streets, or like?
well, hold on.
No,
So when we met Miss Silverhand before, she was walking the streets alone. Why does she have to have such an elite set of guards with her?
well, you do not know the exact nature of how Never Ember hid that gold, do you? Tell me,
Please enlighten us.
how many Xanathar Guild hideouts have you wandered into that had not been guarded or trapped in some meaningful way? You know the city
Are
sits on
you
a gigantic
saying?
you know the city sits on a gigantic dungeon, right? Who's to say how many tricks and traps won't be within the dungeon itself, wherever Mr. November has hidden the gold?
So that brings me back to the question: why ask us just to return the stone and not ask us, who would be probably more, let's just say, dispensable, to go retrieve the whole treasure for her directly?
She likely does not want you to risk your lives unnecessarily. That being the case, if you are interested in aiding in this procedure, if you simply show me the stone, I will inform her of your success in this, and we can arrange a meeting.
I will say,
We'll let you know.
it's.
I
Go ahead, Rotan.
agree. We'll let you know if we find it. We haven't yet.
He says, "That's a shame to hear. However, there's one more piece of information I would share with you before you leave.
And that would be.
Mr. Fenris Stormcastle, you know his home was ransacked when you and Miss Silverhand arrived.
Yes.
Well, it turns out he still lives, and was arrested by the City Watch for theft. He now sits in a courthouse within the castle ward to face the judgment of a magister. I believe that if you did not find the stone within the Xanathar hideout, that Mr. Stormcastle may have hidden the stone before he was captured. You want to try to speak to him right away, before someone else has the opportunity. You will need to devise some sort of ruse to get in close to him. I would urge against violence, or you'll find yourself locked up beside him.
Um, what laws has he broken?
Why, theft.
Theft of?
It seemed like he was trying to steal from another household within the city, but one of the noblemen's houses. So it is said.
Which house?
I'm not sure, but for what it is worth, Mr. Stormcastle was the head of a formal gang on the outskirts of Waterdeep known as the Bloodhawk Posse.
Hmm. When does his trial commence?
I'm not sure. You'll have to ask the clerk at the courthouse.
All right. Well,
So you're saying that the guard arrested this guy at the house before we got there. Is that correct?
I believe they may have arrested him sometime afterwards. It's likely that Mr. Stormcastle went into hiding.
And Mr. Stormcastle is an affiliate of the Xanathar Guild? Or just a common thief?
He says,
I'm I'm going to grab Julie I'm gonna pull Julie over with me real fast, like just kind of shoo him along with me. I know you're about to say something. I just want to throw that out there because I have something to
Mhm.
ask Julie.
Yeah, Julie will, he'll go with the flow.
Um, I'd like to pull him aside and I'd say, Julie, I don't know about you, but I'm getting tired of being jerked around by all these people. I say we show him the stone, and then if it turns into a fight, it turns into a fight.
Julie says, I agree with you all. Absolutely. Too much jerking around. He goes, okay. He actually looks eager to, at this point, I prefer a straight fight to all this sneaking around.
While you're asking the previous question of Aaron, he will say, Mr. Stormcastle was the founder of this Bloodhawk posse, a gang of horse-riding brigands that to this day harries travelers on the road to Amphale. He was drummed out of the gang some time ago. We don't have reason to believe he's allied with the Xanathar Guild. We think he might be trying to acquire the stone and use it as leverage in order to forgive him of any past misdeeds, as well as possibly some personal wealth for himself.
Interesting. Okay.
I'm gonna walk back over.
Okay.
So you say you can identify the stone?
I should be able to, yes.
I'm just gonna nod at Julie.
Julie reaches into the bag of holding and comes out with a closed hand and dramatic pause. Then he opens his hand and he shows the stone. It's
He will
not
lean
talking
in.
to Julie, is it?
No. He will lean in close, examine it, and go, just that I feared. A fake.
Julie nods, shrugs, wasn't talking. He tosses it.
I go and pick it up,
Okay.
and then
Um,
I'm gonna say, well, you've given us some good leads, but now we're leaving. And I look at Trevor and I'm saying, this is getting us nowhere.
I nod
he
and
says,
agree.
he says, good luck at the courthouse, my friends.
By the way,
I
the only
actually,
Mhm.
I'll turn to and say, why can't Silverhand interrogate someone at the courthouse?
At this, he laughs and he says, well, it would be politically unwise for the Open Lord to be seen negotiating with a man who has committed heinous crimes against the
I'm
city.
not saying negotiate. I'm saying interrogating. If she has elite guards, why can't the elite guard of the city lord perform an interrogation and get the location out of them? Why do we need to go do it and risk ourselves if she doesn't want to risk our lives to go to retrieve the treasure? Why risk our lives and potentially jail sentence by going and interrogating someone that we don't have the credentials to interrogate? She
He
does.
shrugs, he shrugs his shoulders and says, if you do not want to risk yourselves, that's perfectly understandable. We can get a hold of other agents that can help in this matter.
To be fair, we do sort of have the credentials.
I know. I didn't want to tell him that.
Well, I'm sure if she's the open lord of Waterdeep, then he knows that we've worked with Force Grey.
We don't know that. We don't know. We don't know who knows what. Remember?
No. But I'm saying if she's the open lord of Waterdeep, she would know what Force Grey would be up to. So she would know that we would have had dealings with them. So in theory, she would know that we have the credentials to go talk to him. Unless she wasn't the open lord of Waterdeep. Doppelgangers.
Dude, that's all I can think of anymore. Just covered in fucking
That's one thing.
doppelgangers.
Like, I'll say okay. Well, we'll go see what we can do with the information you provided us, and bow out, and I'll get up and walk away. Kind of disgusted. So disgusted that you guys just see me switch into winter on the way out the door.
So what?
All right.
I have to know what that entails. Like, do you...
It changes the way his face step works mostly.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, like physically, how do you like? How do we just look at you and go, oh, he's winter?
It's like when you see an
So-
anime character, like, just, like, change moods.
Well, my thought was like
Right.
Goku, like his hair goes from fucking black to gold.
No. Well, what happens with my character is that when he's in autumn, he's got the reddish tinge to his hair. When he goes to winter, his hair turns white. He looks like a snow, like he came out
snow
of the
elf.
snow. Yeah, snow elf.
Gotcha. Okay.
All right. So his hair is white with blue tips. His eyes are icy looking. His skin turns paler.
All right. As you walk out of the theater, given this new information, we're heading late, but what is it you would like to head? Where is it, I should say, you would like to head next?
I would like to probably head to the courthouse, but I would also like to add that I know we're running late, but I also have to get a shower before I go to bed because I gotta get up a little early tomorrow.
I just want to know ahead of time, so maybe I have some extra time to prepare. Are you guys all then planning to head to the courthouse at the start of the next session? Or is there something else you'd prefer to do?
I don't think so, but why were we going to the courthouse again? Someone refresh my memory.
Well,
Fenris Stormcastle, the guy whose house you found was kind of, broken apart with the place where your map led to. It turns out he's not dead. He's alive, and he was captured by the Watch. He's being held in a courthouse. Ronquan shared with you that if you'll probably want to question him to try to figure out where he hid the actual Stone of Galore.
assuming that he actually had. Son of a bitch. Hey, if that. We gotta talk to that little kid, because if he's had something talking to him for like a month, like 2 weeks, and it was that fucking necklace that fell out of the fucking white. Never mind.
He told you he gave that necklace to the City Watch.
Oh, fuck me.
But it doesn't mean he didn't keep the stone. We've been chasing the fake the whole time.
Alright.
So are you guys heading? Well, one the session here, but then
I
are
will
you
say
guys?
that I will go to the Force Gray to get approval to interrogate the guy and see if they'll at least give us permission to, without having to do a whole bunch of deception and trickery to get in to see him.
Yeah, and Paint, as far as we know, that guy was the last person in actual possession of it.
But again,
Okay.
if he lost it, he isn't going to remember where it's at. Because that's
Question: would this also be where Davil is being held?
Possibly.
Well, wouldn't Yagra have mentioned where they're holding him if she wanted me to get him out?
Possibly. I'm just throwing it out there.
Alrighty.
And I'll save you some time. Force Gray will share with you that they don't have any say in the actual judicial processes. And if you really wanted to get a hold of the guy in the jail cell there, you'd have to go through somebody in the Harpers of the Lord's Alliance with some real sway.
Alright. Then I would say that we need to talk to our contacts first before we really proceed. As untrustworthy as every single one of them is. Well, not every single one of them, but a majority.
I agree. Hey, I just
Yeah.
don't think we can just go straight to the courthouse and.
Sounds like
Okay.
we need to go to the yawning portal.
So
I mean,
I'll say
I do have one idea we could do. We could draw off, get drunk again, run through the streets naked with a barrel, and get arrested, and then we just go visit him, and that'd get us in.
Yeah, but you say that like that's not something he's going to do anyway.
That's what I'm saying.
So-
It's completely within character.
You would likely know that you would be arranged in like a halfway meeting point. Kind of like going to a jail cell. You don't meet a person at the jail cell. They bring the person out of the jail cell to like the booth or whatever to talk to them. Yeah, so that idea you would know probably wouldn't work. But I'll say this then. We can give the week for you guys to decide how you want to approach this, and we'll probably just call it here.
That's fine.
All right.
All right.
Sounds good.
Yeah, it's late. It's all good.
Yeah, that'll work. Oh, by the way, the only reason I picked up that fucking stone is because if you just threw it over your shoulder and it turns out to be the actual fucking stone, and that guy was like, hey, look what they left behind," I would have been really pissed.
Nice.
Ugh.
All right, guys.
Yep.
I am going to bed.
Have a good
All
night.
right.
Kelly, thank you. I'll see you all
Good
next
night.
week.
Yep.
See you later.
Later.
Thanks, Kelly.
My pleasure.
That was fun.